Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you had a chance to listen to last week's episode with Tom, where we talked a little bit about biofeedback, how he got into this methodology and combined it with his practice as a physician. We did a little bit of exercises from his book, Embracing Stress in Your Life, and talked a little bit about how we can breathe, smile, and relax. We did the supercharged version as well, which was a lot of fun. But this episode, we're actually going to do a live biofeedback session. So you see, we have some equipment sitting in front of me. I have no idea what to expect. So I'm learning with you, together with all of you.
I think it's important before we start this. This is going to be what we call peripheral hand warming, using a little sensor on a fingertip to pick up and process and feed back to Rebecca her peripheral temperature. Now, why is this important? This is kind of like the old mood rings that you remember those?
I remember those.
The old mood rings, the little colored dots that change color with your mood. You get it up to warm purple, or in that area, your mood is much better. And when you're not in a good mood, it turns blackish, kind of similar to that. That's a type of biofeedback using peripheral temperature. Why is this important in the greater scheme of things? You probably remember times when you've had a significant stress response. When you almost ran in the back of somebody, you had to slam on the brakes, or something happened that really got you wired and you felt like you needed to run or whatever. If you think back to that, you had changes in your physical body. Your heart rate's faster, your blood pressure up a little bit. You probably didn't realize it, but your circulation changed because what the body's doing is getting you ready to deal with whatever you need to deal with. Mm. And so you have more circulation of blood carrying oxygen and glucose to the brain, the heart, and the muscles than you do to the skin and some other organs that are not essential at that time. So since the blood carries heat, there's no heat to warm the hands, and the hands get cooler quite often when you're having a stress response. That makes sense for that reason?
Yeah, it does.
You're not having the circulation there. You're also having a minded response. Hopefully you're thinking more clearly, but sometimes you can block your feelings and not think very well. You also tend to have an emotional response to that need to perform. It can be anxiety, it can be worry, it can be tension, it can be excitement. So you're having multitude of responses. Your blood sugar goes up, your steroids go up in your bloodstream. So many different things happen. There's several things people don't really appreciate about that response, I think. It's important to realize that when people have a demand placed upon them, they respond in the same way as when they respond to something major. In other words, the telephone call rings, so somebody rings the doorbell, the same things happen. They just usually of a lesser order, but you get the same responses. It varies with people depending on their makeup and their constitution and so on, but they get the same response. The second thing people don't realize about that is that mental situation, mental states such as anxiety, such as worry, such as uncertainty, these create the same kind of emotional response as any demand externally made upon a person. So chronic anxiety can result in faster heart rate, higher blood pressure, muscle tension, just different things. So that's the second thing. And the third thing I think people don't realize about that response is that it's a mind response, it's an emotional response, and it's a physical response. Sometimes the physical responses will dominate everything else. Sometimes the mental responses will dominate everything else. Sometimes an emotional response. So we have these wired, very active states involving the mind, the emotions, and the physical body. Now, these three are so intertwined with each other that it's like a beautiful fabric with different colored threads. You pull on one thread and you pull all the others. You can't help it. So you affect one part of that equation, such as the physical body, you affect all the others. And this is when the light bulb kind of came on for me about halfway through my journey into biofeedback. What if you could affect the physical body in a way that would help the mind and the emotions? Yeah. So if we can move the physical body to a position similar to what they would be in if they were very relaxed and mellow, maybe the emotions and maybe the mind will calm down. And that led to basically the first major type of biofeedback, and that's peripheral temperatures. If we can establish warm hands, if a person can learn how to allow their hands to warm, that means increased blood flow in the periphery, which means you're not giving all that blood to the heart and the lungs and the brain because you're not having a stress response. You're mellow, and your emotions follow suit. So it's a very calming, a very relaxing way to be. It takes individuals anywhere from a week to 6 weeks to learn how to do this effectively. It just takes practice. And so what I'd like to do is kind of get you started on that. Is that okay? We'll do the first session today. We're going to use a little instrument. It's battery powered. This is a J&J engineering instrument, one of the first companies to make a lot of biofeedback equipment. It measures temperature, and it can also measure sweating response. And what we're going to do with Rebecca is we're going to put a little lead on her fingertip to let us sample her peripheral temperature. It's a safe device. It works on batteries. This little knob on the end of this wire is called a thermistor. It changes its value with temperature change. So it allows, as a part of an electronic circuit, allows us to detect and display her temperature, which will display on the little instrument here. And we have it hooked up to sound, so when her temperature rises, she'll be able to hear that and knowing she's headed the right direction. This is something it's a passive thing. It's an allowing thing. It's not something you make happen. You try to make it happen, it's going to shut down. It's relaxing, letting it happen, using mental imagery.
I'm just curious. I know I mentioned this to you offline. My hands feel okay right now, actually. But like when we shook hands, when I first came
You were
to
out
meet
in the
you,
cold
you were like,
weather.
"Oh, it's cool. Your hands are cold." That's not the first time people have told that to me, and also in the dead of summertime when it's hot outside. So for whatever reason, I don't seem to have a lot of circulation going to my hands.
That's okay.
Even when I'm calm. So I'm
That's fine.
curious why that is.
That's fine. Everybody's unique, and not everybody abides by that. That's fine. Don't worry about that. Let's just show it to people. Just how she has a sensor on the top of her finger here, and she's just going to put it in her lap for comfort. And we're going to turn this instrument on and look at your temperature is 81.3. Okay? We're not making judgments on this, but let me just jot it down. And this is not something that you need to feel like you have to work at to accomplish. It's not something you can be a failure at. It's just something it is, okay? This is the way you are now. So what we're going to do is give you some sound here. And this lets her know when she hears the sound, lets her know that the temperature is going up. And so when you hear that, you just allow whatever you're doing to continue. You're not thinking about it. You just there in my mind somewhere. I'm just noticing. So what I want you to do now is just sit comfortably. If you feel there's any tension anywhere, like in your shoulders or your feet or your face or your forehead, just tighten it up a little bit and let it go.
Should I close my eyes?
You can close your eyes or they can stay open till they decide to close, whichever way you like. And just let your shoulders gently shrug one time and let them go. Let them relax. Let them relax just a little more and just focus on being still. And when you hear it make a sound, that means it's rising. You're in a little bit of a performance situation here, so that's going to be a little more difficult for you to let yourself go, I think. Just let yourself go. Now see if you can imagine as you're sitting quietly, see if you can imagine as you breathe out, see if you can imagine warmth flowing out through your fingertips. Now it may be that there are places and situations you've been in before where your hands get warm, like at the beach. Bring your hands through the warm sand, maybe holding them in front of a warm fire, maybe having them in warm gloves, mittens, when it's cold outside. Just allow yourself to relax. Be comfortable. Just focus gently on your hands. Let your breathing be slow and comfortable. And focus on your hands. Let your breathing be easy. Just be relaxed. Be comfortable. What are you aware of now?
I'm holding a hot cup of tea right now.
Okay, good. Okay.
That's my usual tactic for warming my hands.
Mm-hmm. Good. Just let that continue. And how are you feeling in general?
I think initially I was a little jarred by the sound
Okay.
of the machine.
Yeah.
So that probably triggered a bit of a stress response.
Okay. It's not a very pleasant sound. It could be better, I think.
It's like listening to an EKG.
Let me cut this off and see if it makes it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine, holding my hands in front of a fireplace.
Yeah.
For a bonfire. The beach was a good example, so I used that one as well. How long does it usually take people to start feeling a difference or really connecting with
It
the
depends.
experience?
It depends on the person and what's going on and their mind-body makeup. Most people take 2 or 3 sessions to get into it really well.
Yeah.
So it's unfair to expect a lot out of you at this point. We're just kind of demonstrating this. You're actually higher than you started out. You're 81.6 now, which is a little higher. The key thing is how you're feeling inside. Not so much what you're thinking now, but how are you aware of how you're feeling inside? Any difference at all? Maybe not at this point. That's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think focusing. I was relaxed coming into this session with you. I had no stressful moment before I walked in the door, so that was helpful.
Then we sat you down here.
But yeah, there's almost like this strange feeling of being recorded while your temperature is being taken.
It's new, yeah, it's new.
So my stress almost increased a little bit just because I knew I was being.
That's to be expected. Yeah, yeah.
But, having those visualizations and imagining your hands warming, and most of those situations are happy situations too, like curling up on the couch with a cup of tea. I'm always relaxed in that moment.
Those are experiences you could recall as you're learning how to allow your hands to warm. And it would take people on average of 6 to 8 sessions to get really proficient at. I used to be able to had a little tiny thermometer I could check with my finger. And in the pediatric office, my hands would run cold because you're washing hands frequently, you're in air conditioning, plus you got the stress of dealing with children and their parents and grandparents sometimes. And so I'd go back in the office away from the patients and it'd be 76. And in 5 minutes, I could have it 94.
Wow.
Just simply by taking a breath, letting it go. And I would feel my hands start to warm. And I'd just sit there and let it happen. I could sustain it for a few minutes, but get back out working again, it goes down again. That's the way our bodies are. We're remarkable instruments, our bodies.
Well, it's incredible that you could move your temperature 20 degrees in 5 minutes.
It is, isn't it?
Just by allowing. I mean, you were saying it's something you can't force to happen.
Now, if I were to sit out there with a screaming kid in my lap, I probably couldn't do it. But it helps to do it occasionally. Give yourself a dose of that. It does help.
I remember you telling me you did this with was it the nurse staff in your office as well?
We used to teach them to do this, particularly the breathe, smile, relax. We would teach that to them to use before they go in to see patients. In fact, our hospital had a whole program about that where they would begin to teach nurses to do that. And they ended up having less turnover of nurses.
Wow.
Just because they were able to learn how to mellow with it. Not with peripheral skin temperature warming, but with the other technique we're talking about. Why don't you just for fun see if you can settle down again?
Okay.
Because this has been a nice exercise. We got talking, got our mind off of things. What you want to eventually learn how to do is to turn on a feeling. You want to be able to take a breath and turn on a feeling of feeling mellow. To a certain extent, breathe, smile, relax can do that. The purpose of this is to learn how that feels, to learn what that state is. So you want to be able to take a breath and turn on a feeling. Like what I learned to do, I could just take a breath, a little smile, and I wouldn't breathe for 30, 45 seconds, just being mellow, just being there. Because I practice it so much. And that's the whole point of the instruments, is learning how to turn on a feeling. So when you're out somewhere and you're having problems and you realize you're a little frazzled, breathe, smile, relax, or just a smile and turn on a feeling with a breath. So you got relaxed and it lets you go up. Let yourself do whatever visualization suits you. So you've already made progress. You're up to 84.3, which is good. That's good progress. You would progressively improve that with time. Okay, let's stop. I think you've gotten up to 84.3. You've increased on 3 degrees in this session, which I think is quite good for the first session, particularly since you probably subconsciously feel like you're performing.
Yes. I'm trying to forget about that.
You've done well, I think. See, you got up to 84.5 a while ago.
That's really cool.
Not as dramatic as I would have liked, but it's a good basic technique. You can get simple little instruments, temperature instruments with wires and probes from a company called biomedical.com. Look at you. Pressure's off.
It's kind of weird just watching it in real time.
It gives you lots of little beeps for 1 degree of temperature. And that's the way we set it on initially, because people want to feel progress when they're making progress. If you only get 1 or 2 beeps of temperature, a degree of temperature, that's hard to see progress.
Yeah.
See what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And it's an individual thing. And in an ordinary session, I would bring someone, I'd talk with them about a little bit of what we talked about. I'd talk about biofeedback and how it works. I'd offer them a tool for their toolbox, like breathe, smile, relax, and ask them to practice this at home for preferably 20, 30, 40 minutes a day. And then I'd see them in a week. Usually I see most people 1 hour a week for 8 weeks, most people. And by that time, they would have learned this, and they would have gone through all the tools I have in my toolbox. You're relaxed now.
84.8 now.
It's going up. See? Yeah, that makes see how sensitive the body is.
Yeah.
It really is. And you like to have normal room temperature. You don't want it cold. You better they not be on medications for blood pressure and some other things, because that can affect how the body responds to things. Just sometimes just that little bit, and it can be all mental. somebody could sit there worrying, they go down to 7 to 6. I mean, if you sat there and start worrying about things, it'd really drop down. There's some people that are not able to get up because of different things in their past, traumas and things like that they hadn't worked through. But see, you're going on up. Look, some people are more active in one area than another. Some people have just emotional responses and not much else. Some will have mental responses, like mind block or something. And people with chronic muscle tension, that can cause anxiety, or anxiety can cause that. And there's one orthopedist who used to treat back pain, and he made people go through, after he did some basic studies to be sure there wasn't a definite surgical problem, he made people go through a stress course before he'd do anything else with them. A high percentage got rid of the back pain.
That doesn't surprise me at all. I've definitely had more pain in my body during stressful times in my life.
Yeah, you can tell, can't you?
No doubt that it's interconnected.
Things get magnified.
Yeah.
Look, you're 85.7 because we got our mind off what we're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the body is funny about that. And you very well could get up to 90. Anything over 90 is considered very good.
Well, this is really fun. I mean, I record a lot of fun podcasts, but this is definitely the highlight of my week. So thank you, Tom, for taking the time today. Is there anything that you wanted to share with my listeners about where they can find more information on biofeedback, where they can find more information about you?
Let me send you some stuff. I can send you some links if you like.
Sure.
The professional organizations have some general information.
Well, I hope all of you enjoyed this session, and I hope that you were able to, at least from this session and last week's session, able to feel like you can better embrace stress in your life. I know since I've started incorporating these practices that Tom introduced me to, I've certainly noticed a difference in my own life. So wishing you all the best, and thank you for listening today.
I wish you well, too.
This podcast is designed to help busy business leaders create an inspired and engaged workforce. I am building a community of like-minded leaders and experts who all share the same passion, taking care of people at work. Whether you are a blue-collar worker or a white-collar worker, small business owner or corporate executive, you belong in this community. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts. If you know someone who I should interview or should be part of this community, please connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram. Life is too short. Let's take care of each other at work so that together we can make this world a better place.